Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today's video is in keeping with some of the videos I've been doing recently that are kind of like a blast to my past. This deck was published in 1982, I think, by US Game Systems Inc. And now this definitely predates the internet days, and definitely would have been in the time frame when you went to a bookstore where the only few tarot decks they had would have been wrapped in cellophane. There was no way to look inside to see what you were buying. And you just crossed your fingers and you hoped you really would like it. I guess in those days, I was already starting to feel like a collector. I had been reading tarot for probably, just about 5 years in 1980. What year is this? In 1982, something like that. So I was reading almost 10 years when this deck came out. So I was probably hungry for decks. I think I've always had a little bit of the collector in me, aside from being a reader. But I just loved them. I was an artist. I still am, and I went to art school, professional art school, and so I was deeply attracted to the cards due to their artistic nature. So in some ways, I think I just collected them as art objects, and that's what initially attracted me to them. At any rate, this tarot deck is called The Sacred Rose Tarot by Johanna Gargiulo-Sherman. And the only image we would have had on it to go by is this card, this picture of the Fool. Now, I remember being on the fence at the store. This was 1982. I wasn't married yet. I had no children. $14 in those days was a lot to put aside for a deck. It doesn't sound like anything now. Now it's a bargain, but in those days, it was enough. But I had, money. I was a, working girl, and I had some cash, and so I bought it. However, I think I regretted it almost instantly. I never really took to it. I never really liked it very much. It has its own little book, as do most of them. And I'll flip the camera now and I'll show you each of the cards. So here's the Fool. That was the card on the cover. And there's a lot going on. The color is fun. Like the Connolly that I recently did, it also has a sense of like stained glass window kind of color, and also, how sections are, what's the word? Outlined, right? So each section of color is outlined. I guess I was wrong when I said that the Connolly was the first probably Rider-Waite-Smith inspired deck I bought. That was a Rider-Waite-Smith. Because I guess, I don't know. I don't know if this one rightly is Rider-Waite-Smith inspired. It definitely came out 8 years before the Connolly. We see this, which is reminiscent of the Rider-Waite-Smith and occultist influence. I just never liked it. I just never went for it. I think I was put off by all these little, like, what are they called? Asterisms, or, when this, like the little sparkles, and I think it just kind of put me off. Although notice that justice is 8 rather than fortitude or strength. But then you'll see with the following cards, the rest of the cards, I think there is a tendency to reference the Rider-Waite-Smith, but I don't really know that it is Rider-Waite-Smith. Now we see here the walking stick kind of looks like a serpent in a way. So I think there's other things going on in this deck that I just never really appreciated or looked into. It's intriguing. but I think I just wasn't attracted to the art. It was just too much like pop culture or something for me. I don't know. I just judged it harshly, I suppose. And that death means business. Oh, I neglected to show the backs. I read with this deck, initially I had to justify spending $14, so I read with it, but I think I just abandoned it. I just put it aside, and frankly, I completely forgot I even owned it, to be honest. Oh, that's interesting. But you can see there's certain cards that just have a dated look, right? Very 70s inspired, I think. And here we are in the pips. Again, I have no reason to believe that this deck is out of publication. I'm sure it's still in publication. I think I mentioned U.S. Game Systems Inc. and we have a Three of Swords, which is in keeping with Rider-Waite-Smith. So even though there may be some differences, I think there's still enough references that, we kind of still see traces of Rider-Waite-Smith. And I think we have a boat here, somebody in a water. So yeah, I think it's loosely based on that. So I guess this actually probably would have been my first Rider-Waite-Smith deck rather than the Connolly Rider-Waite-Smith clone kind of deck. But since I never really used it, I never really thought of it much. I mean, I never, And I think between, the time of purchasing this deck and then the 1990s when we started to see more cards coming out, and especially in the year 2000, then there really was a flux of tarot cards coming out. And I'm talking about the American market. I'm not talking about European. So this might have been one of the few decks out there, for me to find at the time, and I think I just bought it because I just wanted to have a few cards in my collection, but I like I said a few times, I never really took to it. But I do think that it is well liked by many people, and I thought I'd put it out there in case you were interested in it, since it is a deck that's still available. I mean, the colors may have changed, they may have changed the backs or something, but I think for the most part, it still could be had. I think the eyes bugged me because the eyes were never defined. The eyes were just like glass, like vacant. Eyes were void. And then all these like little like asterisms of like, it kind of got on my nerves, I think. It just aesthetically did not appeal to me. But I must say, it has been fun revisiting some of these decks in the absence of my purchasing and just going back and looking at these decks that I long ago forgot about and sharing them. because one man's or one woman's, you know, ceiling is another woman's floor, right? I mean, somebody might like this. And I think I was put off too by the pentacles rather than coins, you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, friends, peace and stay well.